Welcome back to another episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother? In this alternate Naruto universe, one small twist changes everything. What if Naruto wasn't alone? What if he grew up with someone stronger, smarter, and born to rewrite destiny itself? Today, we dive deeper into the story of Kaito Uzumaki, Naruto's powerful older brother whose existence shakes the entire Shinobi world. New alliances form, new enemies rise, and the future of Konoha may never be the same again. So sit back, relax, and get ready, because this episode is about to change everything. Kaito shrugged. Itachi's different, he explained, voice quieter now. He's better suited for ANBU than for normal squads. He likes pushing himself, and ANBU is an environment where he can do that in a controlled way. Itachi also, well, he's not in that same dark place Kakashi is. To be honest, he added, sighing, I don't think kids should graduate early in general, you know? It causes all sorts of problems later. Before Tsunade could reply, the office door burst open. It slammed against the wall, and everyone turned just in time to see Kushina stride in, her long red hair swaying. She was dragging Shizune by the arm, and Shizune seemed torn between embarrassment and a sense of duty. Hey, Tsunade, Kushina said loudly. Come on, let's get going already, you know. She flashed a big smile, clearly in a rush. Shizune, looking apologetic, gave Tsunade a quick bow. I'm sorry, Lady Tsunade, she said, still trying to keep up with Kushina's pace. She just wouldn't take no for an answer. Kushina blinked in surprise when she realized Kaito and Hataru were in the room. Kai-kun. Hataru-chan, she shouted, letting go of Shizune to rush forward. She swept both teens up in a tight hug. You're back. I missed you too. Kaito managed a smile, returning the hug. Hey Mom, he said, his tone softening at her enthusiasm. Hataru giggled, hugging Kushina in return. Good to see you too, Aunt Kushina, she said kindly. Kushina let go, stepping back to look at the pair. Did you just get back? Oh my, you both must be starving. You look so thin. She glanced between them, her warm eyes filled with concern. Yeah, we just arrived, Kaito said, rubbing his neck. But Mom, what are you doing here? A cough from Tsunade snapped Kushina's attention back to the Hokage. Tsunade looked annoyed, arms folded. Kushina, she said, I was still working, you know. Kushina scratched the back of her head, laughing sheepishly. Ah, sorry, Tsunade, she said. You were taking so long, and I got tired of waiting. Shaking her head, Tsunade sighed. Fine, she said, straightening up from leaning against the desk. I was getting tired anyway. With a shrug, she formed a quick seal, creating a shadow clone that took her spot in the chair. The clone picked up a pen and began signing documents, letting the original Tsunade escape. All right, let's go, she said, turning to leave. Kushina brightened, then looked at Kaito and Hataru with a grin. How about you two come with us to the hot spring? She asked. I used to go right after missions, and it helped me relax so much. After a whole week out there, you must need a good soak. Hataru put a finger to her chin and thought for a moment. If I won't be intruding, I'd like that, she answered quietly. Kaito shook his head. You guys go ahead, he said. I'm hungry, so I might look for something to eat first. Come on, Kai-kun, Kushina said, throwing an arm around his shoulders and pulling him close. You should relax once in a while, you know. She leaned in, lowering her voice so only he could hear. Besides, she teased, you might get a peek at Hataru-chan. Or maybe you prefer an older woman like Tsunade or Shizune, Kaito's face turned red. Mom, he hissed, eyes wide. I'm not a pervert, he whispered, trying not to let Hataru overhear. I'd never do that. Kushina just giggled, clearly enjoying how easy it was to fluster him. Well, then it's settled, she declared loudly, pulling him by the shoulders. We're going to the hot springs. Hataru couldn't help but giggle as she watched the mother and son duo. Kushina brightened, then looked at Kaito and Hataru with a grin. How about you two come with us to the hot spring? She asked. I used to go right after missions, and it helped me relax so much. After a whole week out there, you must need a good soak. Hataru put a finger to her chin and thought for a moment. If I won't be intruding, I'd like that, she answered quietly. With a light shrug, she followed them out of the office. Tsunade watched them leave and let out a long sigh, rolling her eyes a bit. Might as well go with them before they get too far, she told Shizune, who nodded quickly. They both left the office, leaving the shadow clone behind to tackle the stack of paperwork. Soon, they arrived at the hot springs. The building itself was tucked behind tall wooden fences, with a sign at the front marking the separate entrances for men and women. The smell of hot mineral water drifted in the air. It was calm and inviting, a perfect place to unwind after a string of tough missions. Outside the entrance, they split up by gender. Hataru and Kushina, along with Tsunade and Shizune, went to the women's section. Before they disappeared through the sliding door, Kushina couldn't resist one more jab at her son. She called over her shoulder, "Don't you dare peek, Kaikuin." Kaito groaned, his face heating up again. "Mom," he muttered under his breath. Then he stepped into the men's section alone. The locker room was quiet, a gentle hush broken only by the faint drip of water from somewhere in the back. Kaito glanced around and saw no one else there. He released a soft breath and moved to one of the wooden benches. Sitting down, he covered his face with his hands for a moment, thinking about how chaotic the day had been. Standing up, he mumbled, "I'm already here. Might as well soak for a few minutes." He reached down to grab the collar of his shirt. However, as he started to pull it over his head, he paused suddenly. A memory popped into his mind. Slowly, he lowered the shirt back down, his brows drawn together in anger. "That bastard," he muttered, anger flashing in his eyes. A few minutes earlier, a Kaito clone sat in a nearby tree, leaning against the trunk on a thick branch. He sat with one leg folded and the other dangling, idly plucking leaves from a smaller branch and tearing them before tossing them aside. He grumbled to himself, "Man, why am I stuck with guard duty? It's boring. Why can't the boss do it? He's back in the village already. Nothing ever happens, you know." He sighed and plucked another leaf, splitting it with wind chakra. That's when he sensed something with his mind's eye of Kagura. He looked up at the hot spring building and saw a man crouching atop it. His eyes narrowed, and a growl escaped his mouth. What does he think he's doing? Jiraiya was crouched on the roof of the Konoha hot spring house, peering through a handheld telescope at the women's side. He giggled creepily as he watched, muttering perverted comments. "Ah, just like that. Turn around and show Papa those puppies, he-hey." A thin nosebleed trickled from his nostril as he leaned forward. "Oh my, look at those. He, you're one of a kind." He snickered again, adjusting his telescope. "Oh my, look at that. Aren't you a sight to behold?" Drool threatened to escape the corner of his mouth. Kaito's shadow clone landed behind him, looking annoyed. Despite his irritation, the clone stayed calm, especially since he could tell his mother Kushina, Hataru, Tsunade, and Shizune were still in the changing area. They weren't in direct view, yet. He didn't want to make a scene, but he also had to put a stop to Jiraiya's perverted antics. "Hey, old man," the clone said, tapping Jiraiya's shoulder. "Just what do you think you're doing?" Without even looking back, Jiraiya brushed the clone's hand off. "Shoo, kid, scram. I'm busy doing valuable research." "Research?" The clone's eyebrow twitched. "Listen, old man, you need to leave. Now. Or..." Jiraiya shushed him. "Go on, get lost," he muttered irritably, then suddenly zoomed in with his telescope. Kushina and Tsunade had just come into view, stepping out of the changing room. Both wore only small towels, barely covering their shapely figures. A creepy grin spread across Jiraiya's face. "Oh ho, look at that. Tsunade and Kushina at the same time? What luck." He let out an unseemly whistle. "Wow, jackpot." Kaito's clone went pale with fury, anger flaring at Jiraiya's lecherous comments. How dare he gawk at them like that? Especially at my mom. Before Jiraiya could react, he found himself violently wrapped up in glowing chakra chains. "Wait, what? Ah!" Jiraiya shouted, but was cut off when the clone teleported them both away. Back in the women's changing room, Kushina adjusted her towel. "All set." Now let's go, she exclaimed, glancing at the others. Kushina stepped over to Hataru, giving her a playful smile. Oh, you look super cute, Hataru-chan. And those curves. She gave Hataru's chest a teasing poke. You're so young yet so well-developed. Kaikuin is a lucky boy, you know. Hataru's cheeks went red as she pressed the towel more tightly against herself. Aunt Kushina, please. She mumbled, mortified. Undeterred, Kushina giggled. So, when are you gonna ask my son out on a date? You'd better hurry, or some other girl might snatch him away if you wait too long. Hataru's eyes dropped. I don't think he's interested in me, she whispered, looking embarrassed. Tsunade, who had just finished wrapping her own towel, chimed in, most boys that age are only interested in training or jutsu. But I agree with Kushina. If you like him, make a move soon. Kaito's pretty popular, he's the fourth son, and everyone sees him as a future Hokage. Hataru gave a tiny nod, though she still looked uneasy. Kushina slipped her arm around Hataru's shoulders. Oh, trust me, he's noticed you. He's just slow on the uptake. Like his father was. He's shy about stuff like this, believe me. Hataru turned a deeper shade of red. Why, you really think he likes me? Sure do, Kushina replied. He's really protective of you. He smiles a lot whenever your name comes up. He just won't make the first move. Minato was the same way at that age. Hataru lowered her gaze, a small hopeful smile forming on her lips. Leave the poor girl alone, Tsunade told Kushina, though her tone was more amused than scolding. Oh fine, Kushina sighed, rolling her eyes dramatically. Then she turned her attention to Shizune. So, Shizune, how about you? Got any special someone in mind? Shizune stepped back, clutching her towel. Me? No, I haven't really found anyone interesting. Ah, that's a shame, Kushina teased. You're wasting your prime, you know. Leave it to me, I'll set you up with a guy. I'm great at matchmaking. Tsunade walked up behind them, nodding. I've been telling her to get out more, she added with a teasing smile. Waving her hand dismissively, Kushina said, all right, let's see who's single. What about Gunmakuen? Last I heard, he was still unattached. Nice guy too. Shizune's cheeks heated and she stammered, this is all so sudden. Tsunade tapped her chin. Gunma, huh? That's the kid who always has a sunbon in his mouth. He does seem reliable. Kushina pushed the door open leading into the hot spring, warm steam billowing out. Exactly, and he used to be on Minato's guard detail. See, we can trust him. I'll totally set you up. Sound good, Shizune? Shizune just gaped, unable to form a coherent response. Kushina hummed, thinking aloud, if not Gunma, how about Kakashi-kun? But good luck getting him to show up for a date, she grumbled, rubbing her temple. I swear, that man's either on a mission or sulking somewhere. He's hopeless. Tsunade's eyes flicked thoughtfully. Kaito did just ask me to help get Kakashi out of ANBU. Before anyone could comment further, they heard a male voice, faint and panicked, echo over the hot spring walls. Wait, what? Ah. They all paused, Tsunade's eyes narrowing. That sounded like Jiraiya. If he's spying on us, I'll... Kushina waved her off confidently. Relax, Tsunade. Kaikuin's got it handled. If that pervert tried anything, he's probably already been taken care of. She gave a wicked smirk, clearly untroubled by Jiraiya's plight. Meanwhile, Jiraiya slammed into the ground of a training field on the outskirts of Konoha, skidding across it from the force of the throw. Kaito appeared atop a tree where he'd placed a Hiraition marker. He was furious. He jumped to the ground, eyes locked on Jiraiya, who was standing up and dusting himself off. What the hell was that about? Jiraiya snapped, brushing debris off his clothes. I was in the middle of vital research and, he stopped, realizing who he was speaking to. Hey, you're Minato's brat, Kaito, right? Care to explain why you interrupted me? Kaito's eyes narrowed in disgust. You're researching my mother and my friends? He hissed, fists clenching. You perverted old bastard. Jiraiya scoffed, waving off the accusation. Kid, it's just a harmless peek. Don't overreact. Kaito's eyes dilated at the older man's casual demeanor. Without warning, Kaito flickered in front of Jiraiya and punched him in the face. Caught off guard, Jiraiya took the hit and went flying before he could react. Kaito followed up with a dropkick from above, slamming Jiraiya into the ground and leaving a small crater. Jiraiya spat out some blood and leapt back, trying to gain distance. This kid is fast, he thought. As soon as he landed, Kaito was on him again, unleashing a barrage of punches and kicks. Hey, calm down, kid. Jiraiya tried to reason, struggling to dodge and block Kaito's relentless strikes. He's really serious. He's trying to hurt me. Seizing an opportunity, he grabbed Kaito by the leg and tossed him back. We can work this out, no need to fight. Calm down. Kaito's body flickered, disappearing and then reappearing above Jiraiya, driving a kick into his face and sending him flying again. Jiraiya managed to land, skidding across the training ground, blood trickling from his split lip. Straightening up, the Sannin wiped his mouth and glared. All right, kid, if it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get. He lunged forward, meeting Kaito's own charge, but Kaito was noticeably faster, ducking and weaving before landing several counterhits. Realizing he couldn't keep up, Jiraiya jumped back. This is insane. It's like fighting Minato, but he's trying to kill me. Forming a seal, he shouted, Senpo, hurry Jizo. His hair morphed, growing longer and sharper. Then it shot out as spiky needles straight at Kaito. The needles pierced through Kaito's form, but that form flickered and vanished. Jiraiya spun around just in time to see the real Kaito appear behind him, a massive sphere of chakra in his palm. Kudama Rasengan. Kaito roared, slamming the gigantic Rasengan toward Jiraiya. Jiraiya's eyes went wide, and he quickly wrapped his hair around himself for protection. But the colossal Rasengan crashed into him, exploding with intense force. A massive crater formed where Jiraiya had been. Some distance away, Jiraiya was behind a tree panting. That was too close. If I hadn't known about that kid's flicker trick, I'd be dead. He tried to steady his breathing. He's really out for blood. I have to. His thoughts were cut off when he had to dodge an air bullet that gouged a hole in the spot he'd just been standing. Oh, come on, kid, he shouted, blocking another one of Kaito's strikes. Kaito grabbed Jiraiya's arm, yanking him forward to knee him in the face, then twisted and flung him into the ground. Still in midair, Kaito launched several massive fireballs at Jiraiya. Jiraiya skidded, then rolled aside, barely avoiding the first fireball. He dodged another and formed hand signs, slamming his palm onto the ground. Earth-style, earth wall. A thick slab of earth rose to block the scorching flames. I have to do something or he really might kill me, Jiraiya thought. But he had no chance to relax. Kaito reappeared in front of him, swinging a tonto aimed at cutting him in half. Jiraiya jerked to the side, and his hair extended, trying to wrap around Kaito. But chakra chains shot out from Kaito's back, swatting away Jiraiya's hair before rushing the Sannin himself. The chains impaled him through the chest, only for the impaled Jiraiya to turn into a pile of mud. A second later, Jiraiya burst from the ground behind Kaito, a Rasengan in hand. Kaito quickly formed his own Rasengan, and the two spheres collided. Kaito's Rasengan was larger, similar to the one Minato used to create. Jiraiya thought the clash would cancel both Rasengan, but Kaito's overpowered his, slamming into Jiraiya's stomach and sending him crashing into a tree. Jiraiya coughed up blood as he tried to stand, only for a red blade made of lightning chakra to pierce his left shoulder, pinning him to the tree. The electricity partially paralyzed him. This kid really is going to kill me, Jiraiya thought, staring at Kaito's outstretched hand. A menacing look crossed the boy's face. A Kodan, ISO. Kaito muttered, referring to the red blade. Still able to move his right arm, Jiraiya slammed his hand onto the ground. Summoning Jutsu. Kaito retracted his lightning blade rather than sever Jiraiya's arm, leaping back. He could sense the surge of chakra. He's summoning something big. Jiraiya summoned Gamakon and perched atop the giant toad's head. Gamakon, stall the kid for a moment. We can't outrun him. I need time to summon those two, he said, beginning to gather natural energy. Kaito landed on a nearby tree, eyeing the towering summon. Damn that toad, it's going to level the whole training ground. Gamaken hefted his giant Susumata, mumbling, I'm not very graceful, but I'll do my best, before swinging it down at Kaito. Kaito body flickered aside, narrowly avoiding the massive weapon. The toad hopped backward to create distance, but Kaito chased it. When he caught up to the massive toad, he launched chakra chains from his back, binding Gamaken's arm and the Susumata, but he hadn't anchored the chains to the ground, allowing the huge toad to yank him along. Realizing his error, Kaito released the chains and somersaulted onto another tree. He created a shadow clone, and together they used more chakra chains, this time anchoring them to the ground, to restrain Gamaken again, successfully pinning him. Gamaken-san, Kaito shouted, I have no quarrel with you. Please leave. I'm only after that perverted old man on your head. I'm sorry, the toad replied. But I promised to protect him. I can't break my word. Kaito scowled, preparing to bite his thumb. I might have to summon Katsuyu myself. Just then, Jiraiya spoke up from atop Gamaken. It's all right, Gamaken, you can leave. The giant toad sighed in relief. If you insist. He dispelled himself in a huge cloud of white smoke that filled the area. Kaito immediately sensed Jiraiya's chakra rising, becoming much larger than before. Kaito thought, that old man. He's gone into sage mode, hasn't he? His chakra feels like it tripled in size. He stood on the tree branch, his crimson hair fluttering lightly in the breeze as he waited for the white smoke to clear. He could feel the surge of Jiraiya's chakra, much larger and denser than before. Narrowing his eyes, Kaito remained on alert for any sudden moves. I need to be careful. I don't know exactly how big a boost his imperfect sage mode gives him. Jiraiya boy, croaked Ma in an annoyed tone, you'd better have a good reason for summoning us. You know I was in the middle of cooking. You always pick the worst possible times to call us. She folded her small arms, a ladle still dripping sauce in one hand. I even left the stove on. If my house burns down, you're gonna regret it. Pa sighed at his partner. Now, Ma. Calm down. I'm sure Jiraiya boy wouldn't summon us unless he really needed us. Right, Jiraiya boy. Jiraiya was busy clutching his wounded shoulder, where blood slowly dripped through his fingers. He let out a nervous laugh that sounded more like a painful wheeze. Right. Sorry, Ma. Sorry, Pa. You see, I've gotten myself into a pickle. Ma gave him a sour look. A pickle, huh? You're all banged up and bleeding. The enemy must be pretty serious if you had to drag us into this. Jiraiya glanced at his shoulder, wincing. It's, not exactly an enemy in the usual sense. Pa frowned, looking at the blood running over Jiraiya's hand. Are you sure? That wound looks nasty. I could have sworn you'd only call us if you were truly cornered. Jiraiya cleared his throat and tried to put on a casual grin, though the pain made it difficult. Sort of. It's just that this isn't some typical missing nin or anything. Ma huffed, glancing around the smoky clearing. Well, are you gonna explain or keep stalling? My stew's gonna be ruined by the time I get home. As the smoke fully cleared, Kaito came into view, standing calmly on a tree branch and looking at them. So I was right, Kaito thought, noticing the deeper lines around Jiraiya's eyes and the orange pigmentation that often came with sage mode. He's in sage mode. I didn't think he needed them to enter it. I thought he only used them against pain to help maintain sage mode for a longer time. Kaito, seeing Jiraiya's shoulder, noted that it had stopped bleeding. And his injury. It must be the passive healing and durability buff that sage mode gives. Down below, Ma finally noticed Kaito. She squinted in his direction. Where's the enemy, Jiraiya boy? I only see some kid standing up there. Jiraiya forced another laugh. That's the kid I was telling you about, Ma. He's the one who gave me this wound. There was a brief pause. Then Ma's eyes widened in annoyance. You summoned us to fight a child? Pa, the older male toad perched on Jiraiya's other shoulder, raised a webbed hand. Let him explain, Ma. The boy might be stronger than he looks. Jiraiya's injured, too. But, Jiraiya boy, Why are you even fighting some young lad from Konoha? Ma tilted her head at Kaito. He does look kinda familiar. Maybe I've seen him somewhere before. Jiraiya, what exactly happened to get you injured like that? Wincing, Jiraiya mumbled, it was a misunderstanding, okay? The kid wants to kill me, but I tried to leave. He wasn't having it. I need you both to distract him a bit so I can slip away. Pa looked puzzled. If that's all you wanted, to run away, why didn't you just use reverse summoning to get back to Mount Mayaboku? Reverse summoning? Jiraiya blinked, looking like a light bulb had just turned on in his head. I didn't think of that. Hearing that, Kaito couldn't hold in his anger any longer. He raised his voice from the tree branch. A misunderstanding? A misunderstanding. His eyes blazed as he repeated the words. You never visited us once after my dad died. You called yourself Naruto's godfather, something you asked to be. But you never showed up for him, not even once. You never checked on him, never looked after him. If my mom and I hadn't survived the Nine-Tails attack, you would have left Naruto all alone. You would have abandoned him. And then you show up, Kaito shouted, and the first thing you did was go to the hot springs to spy on my mom and her friends. You call that a misunderstanding? Jiraiya's shoulders sagged. It's not like that, kid. Kaito ignored him and turned his attention to the two-toed sages. Fukasaku-sama, Lady Shima, I've got no quarrel with either of you, he said, doing his best to be respectful. Please leave him to me. I only want Jiraiya. I'm going to teach him a lesson he won't forget. Kaito reached into his pouch and pulled out 6 tri-pronged kunai, then threw them around. As he threw them, they multiplied into hundreds, scattering all over the clearing. Jiraiya, seeing this, tensed and thought, that kunai. The kid knows Hiraition. This is bad, and his face turned serious. At this, Ma's mouth fell open. She clutched the ladle tighter, glaring at Jiraiya. You did what? Jiraiya boy, didn't we teach you any manners? You're peeping on women again. Jiraiya's face turned red. He tried to cover it by coughing into his hand. It's not like that, I didn't know it was her. A loud whack echoed through the clearing as Ma produced a gigantic wok pan from thin air and slammed it over Jiraiya's head. That's no excuse, you big idiot. Arg. Jiraiya stumbled, clutching his head. Blood still oozed from his shoulder, but now he was wincing more from Ma's blow than from the wound. Ma, cut it out. It serves you right, she snapped. Can't believe we taught you all those ninjutsu, only for you to stoop to peeping. While Ma continued scolding Jiraiya, Pa turned to Kaito with a curious look. Lad, how do you know our names? I don't think we've met before. Kaito blinked, not expecting this to happen, then said, my dad learned senjutsu from you. He told me about you both. Pa's eyes widened. Your dad was our student. Wait a minute. He took a closer look, his wrinkled face softening with realization. You must be Minato's older son. Kaito. Yes, that's it. You have his face, only with your mother's hair color. Ma, hearing this, seemed to switch her scowl from Jiraiya to concern for Kaito. Oh, so you're Minato's tadpole, she said, her voice losing some of its harshness. Then she glared back at Jiraiya. That's disgraceful. You spied on Minato-chan's wife, your own student's wife. You deserve every bruise you get. She whacked him over the head again, this time with enough force to knock him to the ground. Jiraiya fell with a loud thud, sending dust billowing around him. Both Ma and Pa hopped away to land a short distance in front of him. Ow. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jiraiya yelped from the ground, rolling onto his back. I wasn't there to look, I didn't know it was Kushina. Pa shook his head. I'm really disappointed in you, Jiraiya boy. You've crossed the line this time. Ma grabbed Jiraiya by the ear, twisting it until he yowled in pain. Apologize to the lad right now. We thought we taught you proper manners, but it looks like you forgot them. Sorry, kid. Jiraiya managed to say, his voice strained by the pull on his ear. I won't do it again, I promise. Up in the branches, Kaito watched with an odd mix of surprise and confusion. Here I thought I could test myself against him in sage mode. He couldn't help feeling a bit let down. Kaito sighed, raising his voice again. Lady Shima, Lord Fukasaku, let me handle this. I promise I'll make sure he doesn't peep on anyone ever again once I'm done with him. To make his point, he took out a kunai, letting it shine in the last rays of the evening sun. Ma sized Kaito up. She seemed about ready to let him proceed, but then Jiraiya, who had reverted to his normal form, no longer maintaining sage mode, jumped to his feet in desperation. Come on, kid, I said I'm sorry. Cut me some slack, Jiraiya pleaded. I promise I won't do it again. Just this once, let's forget all about it. I'll even let you sign the toad summoning contract, like your father did. You'd get along great with Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and the others, I'm sure. It's a good deal, right? Kaito hopped down from the branch, landing lightly on his feet. He tucked his kunai away. No thanks, he said coolly. I'm already a summoner with the Shikotsu forest. Jiraiya's eyes went wide with shock. Wait. Tsunade let you sign the slug contract. Pa piped up, well, that's a shame. You would have been a good toad summoner like Minato. It would have been nice to train you in senjutsu the same way we trained your father. Ma rolled her eyes, then whacked Jiraiya on the head again. See what you did? Now he's not our summoner, all because of your foolishness. Jiraiya groaned, rubbing his sore head once more. Give me a break, Ma. It's not like I forced him away from the toads. He cut himself off with a sigh. Pa turned to Kaito. So, lad, is there anything we can do to make this easier on you so you don't have to finish off Jiraiya boy? He did train your father, after all. Ma folded her arms, her large eyes fixed on Kaito. Yes, if there's something we can do, let us know. As for Jiraiya, I'll make sure he learns his lesson when we get back to Mount Mayaboku. Kaito took a long breath, picking his words carefully. Part of him still burned with anger, but another part realized this might be the best chance he'd get to ask for something else he needed. Yes, he said at last, there is something I need help with. I think you two might be able to assist me. Pa leaned forward, his voice steady and reassuring. Well, tell us, my boy. If it's something we can help with, we'll do what we can. Ma gave a small nod, her tone gentle. Aye, lad, don't keep us in the dark. Let us know. Kaito hesitated for a moment, then nodded firmly. I need your help with a seal I'm working on. Pa tilted his head, clearly puzzled. A seal, you say? Yeah, Kaito replied, fidgeting with his pouch. You know how Mom was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki before? You know. His voice trailed off as he pulled out a sealing scroll, unrolling it slowly on the ground. Pa's eyes narrowed slightly, his confusion growing. Go on, boy. Kaito glanced at them, then down at the scroll in his hands. She only survived that night because I awakened one of the Uzumaki clan's Kekii Genkai, he said quietly. It's called Heal Bite. It lets me heal anyone who bites me, using my chakra. Jiraiya, still on the ground nursing his shoulder, looked up sharply. So that's how she survived, he muttered, pushing himself up to his feet. I always thought it was because she was an Uzumaki. Kaito shot him a glare, his voice sharp. Well, maybe you would have known if you'd visited once. Jiraiya flinched at the remark. I didn't mean. Kaito cut him off, ignoring the apology. He crouched and began spreading the scroll flat on the ground. As I was saying, he continued, she survived because of my Kekii Genkai, but she wasn't fully healed. The Nine-Tails was forcefully extracted, and later, she got stabbed by its claw. He paused for a moment. She had this massive wound on her abdomen. I managed to save her from dying that day, but I was just a kid. I didn't have enough chakra to heal her completely. Pa rubbed his chin thoughtfully. I take it she's been having trouble molding her chakra ever since? Damaged chakra coils, maybe? Kaito nodded. Exactly. After we got discharged from the hospital, I tried to heal her again. But he ran a hand through his hair, his frustration clear. She refused. She said it was too dangerous. Why? Ma asked softly, her brows knitting with concern. Kaito let out a long sigh, his voice heavy. Because that day, when I didn't have enough chakra to save her, out of my desperation, I used some of my life force to heal her. She doesn't want me risking my life for her again, Kaito continued. Since then, I've been searching for a way to heal her properly. I even tracked down Lady Tsunade, hoping she could help. But even with her skills, it was beyond her expertise. Ma nodded thoughtfully. So, you're hoping we can help her, I'm sorry, lad, but we don't have any techniques advanced enough to heal damaged chakra coils. I'm not sure if there's anything out there that can. Kaito nodded, understanding. I figured as much, he shook his head. But, while talking to Lady Tsunade, I learned something important. You can't really fix damaged chakra coils with medical ninjutsu alone. He turned to Fukasaku and Shima. But what if you could make the body repair the damaged chakra coils itself? Pa's brows furrowed in thought. Make the body repair itself, you say? Kaito nodded. Exactly. My Kekiai Genkai, Heal Bite. It works because my chakra has an incredibly high level of vitality. It forces the person being healed to accelerate their own natural healing using that vitality. But, he frowned. It takes a huge amount of chakra to heal someone completely. He took out the scroll and walked over to Fukasaku, handing it to him. I want to replicate that effect using seals. I've been designing one that could do the same thing. To put it simply, this seal would revert the body's condition back to its prime state. Fukasaku took the scroll and unrolled it, examining it carefully. His expression grew thoughtful. I see. If you use your chakra, it might just work. Kaito nodded again. It could, but there's a catch. My Heal Bite ability requires someone to bite me directly for it to work. If I want this seal to repair Mom's chakra coils, I'll need something with more life energy than regular chakra. He paused, locking eyes with Fukasaku. That's when I thought of nature energy. It's entirely made up of life force, so it should be even more potent than my Heal Bite ability. That's why I signed the contract with the slug summons, to learn senjutsu and complete the seal. Jiraiya jolted in surprise. Wait, hold on, he said, his eyes wide. You're learning senjutsu? Kaito nodded, the irritation in his eyes clear. Yes, he said. But I haven't made much progress. I've been too busy the last 6 months. Pa chuckled lightly but quickly shifted to a more serious tone. So, you're asking us to help charge the seal with nature energy? Kaito sighed. It's not that straightforward, he said. The seal works with normal chakra right now, sure. But I don't think it'll work the same way with nature energy. From what I've learned, nature energy is extremely volatile. Fukasaku nodded in agreement. You're right about that. If handled incorrectly, it can be very dangerous. Exactly, Kaito said, gesturing toward the scroll. That's why I need your help. I need to design a filter or a regulator for the seal, something that can stabilize the nature energy so it doesn't harm the person it's supposed to heal. He paused. I tried asking Lady Kotsuyu for help, but she said she wasn't well versed in seals. That's why I'm here. The toads of Mount Mayaboku have been practicing senjutsu for centuries. Do you know any way to make something like that work with seals? Pa finally spoke. Sorry, lad, he said, shaking his head. I haven't heard of anything quite like the seal you're making. I'd have to search the archives and see if there's something we've missed. Ma, who had been peering over Pa's shoulder, chimed in. But if anyone would know, it'd be the great toad sage, she said confidently. That old geezer's been alive for who knows how long, and he was always known for his work with seals. Kaito sighed, but nodded. Is there a way for me to talk to the great elder? Or at least permission to look through the archives? Pa nodded slowly. We can arrange an audience with the great elder, but it won't be immediate. You see, he's really old and Ma cut in, waving a hand dismissively. He's a bit senile and sleeps all the time. But don't worry, lad. When he wakes up, we can arrange for you to meet him. Pa chuckled lightly and added, as for the archives, I'll have to ask the great elder for permission. but I doubt he'd mind you looking through them. Relief washed over Kaito's face, and he bowed deeply. Thank you, Lord Fukasaku, Lady Shima. This means a lot to me. Pa smiled kindly. No need to thank us, lad. Ma gave a wistful sigh. Yeah, you're Minato-chan's son after all. It's just a shame you're not our summoner. She shook her head in mock disappointment before shooting a sharp glare at Jiraiya. Unlike someone. Jiraiya flinched under her gaze, mumbling, I didn't do anything. Kaito straightened. Sorry about that, he said. I was desperate, and the slug contract was the closest one I could get at the time. Pa waved it off with a chuckle. It's all right, lad. Kaito reached into his pouch and pulled out a tri-pronged kunai, handing it to Fukasaku. This has my Hiratian seal on it. If you channel chakra into the handle, I'll teleport to it. That way, you can contact me when the Great Elder wakes up. Pa examined the kunai and nodded. Aye, that'll make things much easier. Kaito nodded back, stepping away. I should get going. Mom's probably worried about me. He bowed again, deeply. Thank you again, Lord Fukasaku, Lady Shima. As he stood up, his expression darkened, and he shot a glare at Jiraiya. You got lucky this time. But if I ever catch you peeping on my mom or anyone close to me again, I swear I'll kill you. Without waiting for a response, Kaito vanished in a flash of light. Jiraiya flinched, his hand instinctively going to his injured shoulder. He sighed heavily, shaking his head. That kid's got his mother's temper. Ma's sharp glare made him stiffen. You better take care of that wound, Jiraiya boy. And you better not let me hear about you peeping again. Ever. Yes, ma'am, Jiraiya muttered, nodding quickly. With a shared look, both Pa and Ma dispelled themselves, leaving Jiraiya alone in the clearing. He glanced around at the empty space and sighed, shoulders slumping. Well, that didn't go as planned. Still clutching his arm, he turned and trudged off to get his shoulder treated. Kaito appeared back in the men's side of the hot springs locker room. He let out a long sigh. Stripping off his clothes, he wrapped a towel around his waist and headed to the showers. Once he was clean, he made his way to the hot spring, easing into the steaming water with a relieved sigh. After about 20 minutes, Kaito stepped out of the men's side, fully dressed and feeling slightly more at ease. As he exited, he was greeted by an unexpected group, his mother, Kushina, along with Hataru, Tsunade, and Shizune. Hataru gave him a shy wave, her face bright red. Kaito noticed that Shizune's face was just as red. As soon as Kushina spotted him, her mischievous grin widened. So, Kaikuan, she teased, her voice sing-song, did you get a nice peek at Hataru-chan? Kaito groaned, rubbing the bridge of his nose. You already know the answer, Mom. Oh, so you did, huh? Kushina smirked. What a naughty boy. He sighed again, deciding it wasn't worth the effort to argue. Eventually, they parted ways. Tsunade and Shizune headed back to the Hokage's office, while Kaito, Kushina, and Hataru made their way toward the academy. As they arrived at the academy gates, the sound of children's chatter filled the air. Kaito's eyes landed on a familiar figure leaning against a tree, Itachi, dressed in his ANBU uniform. Hataru spotted him almost instantly and beamed. Itachi-kun. It's been a while. How have you been? She called out. Itachi gave a small nod and a faint smile. I'm well, Hataru. It's good to see you too. His gaze shifted to Kushina, and he dipped his head respectfully. Good evening, Lady Kushina. Kushina smiled warmly at Itachi and ruffled his hair playfully. My, you've grown since the last time I saw you, Itachi-kun. At this rate, you three will all be taller than me. She then asked, speaking of family, where's your mother, Itachi-kun? She's not here. Itachi shook his head. No, I'm here alone. Kaito grinned and walked up to Itachi, their fists bumping. Sup, Itachi. Itachi gave a small nod in return, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Kaito. Just then, Hitomi arrived, walking toward them with little Hinobi in tow. Spotting the group, Hitomi smiled brightly. Hello everyone. She gave Hataru a warm hug. Then her smile turned mischievous as she stepped closer to Hotaru and Kaito. So, have you two started dating yet, or what? Hotaru's face turned a deep shade of red, and she pushed her mother away with a flustered "Mom. Stop it." Kaito scratched the back of his head, his expression awkward. Ah. Their reactions only made Itachi smirk, his amusement evident. Before anyone could say more, Naruto burst out of the academy gates with his friends, Shikamaru, Choji, Karen, Hinata, and Ino. Not far behind, Sasuke walked out as well, trailed by a group of giggling girls. Naruto was the first to notice the group. "Nichan, you're back," he shouted. Karen followed behind him. "Kaito and I, when did you get back?" Hinata, after greeting her mother and elder sister with a hug, turned shyly to Kaito. "Good evening, Kaito-senpai," she said, her face turning pink. Kaito smiled warmly and ruffled the hair of Naruto, Karen, and Hinata. "Hey there, you guys," he said with a chuckle. Just then, Niji approached the group, bowing slightly. "Lady Hitomi, Lady Hotaru, Lady Kushina, Kaito." Meanwhile, Sasuke made his way over to Itachi. Kushina couldn't resist teasing. My, Sasuke-kun, you've got quite the fan club trailing after you, huh?" Sasuke's cheeks tinted red, and he grumbled, "Nissan, let's go," avoiding her gaze as he walked over to Itachi. Itachi, always composed, gave Kushina a polite smile. "We'll take our leave now, Lady Kushina, Lady Hitomi, Hotaru, Kaito." Itachi nodded again before turning to leave, Sasuke following close behind. As they left, Hitomi glanced at the sky. "Well, it's getting late. We should head home too, Kushina." Kushina nodded, shifting little Hanabi back into Hitomi's arms. "Yeah, I suppose we should." Hotaru paused just before leaving and gave Kaito a warm hug. "Good night, Kaito," she said softly before hurrying off to join her mother and sisters. As the group dispersed, Kushina turned to Naruto, Karen, and Kaito with a wide grin. "So, are you three hungry? Because I sure am, you know." Naruto pumped his fist in the air. "Ichiraku ramen." Karen nodded. "Ramen sounds perfect." Kushina mirrored Naruto's enthusiasm. "Then let's get going." As they made their way toward Ichiraku ramen, Kaito's attention drifted to the Hokage monument. He slowed his steps slightly, staring at his father's face, the fourth Hokage. "One day, Dad." Kushina noticed him lagging behind. "Hey, Kaito-kun. Hurry up, you know." Kaito gave a small smile and jogged to catch up with them. Kaito sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Of course, ramen," he muttered, but he followed them without complaint. As they made their way toward Ichiraku ramen, Kaito's attention drifted to the Hokage monument. Tsunade's face had recently been added, but his eyes lingered on his father's, the fourth Hokage. He slowed his steps slightly, staring at the carved stone. "One day, Dad." Kushina noticed him lagging behind and called out, "Hey, Kaito-kun. Hurry up, you know." Her voice snapped him out of his thoughts. Kaito gave a small smile and jogged to catch up with them, shaking his head at his mother's boundless energy. Kaito sat cross-legged in the middle of his room, a scroll in his hands as he studied it intently. 4 shadow clones were each going through the scrolls scattered around. His concentration broke when he heard a knock at the door, followed by it sliding open. Kushina stepped inside, holding a ladle in one hand. "Oh, what are you working on, Kaikuen?" she asked, glancing at the clones and the scrolls. "You've been cooped up in here for the past few days, you know." Kaito shrugged, trying to sound nonchalant. "Nothing much, just a new seal I'm working on, you know." Kushina's eyes lit up with excitement. "A new seal? Let me see." "I can help, you know," she said eagerly, stepping closer. Reacting quickly, Kaito snatched the scroll away. "Sorry, Mom." "It's a surprise," he said with a sheepish smile. Kushina pouted dramatically. "Mao, Kaikuen won't even show me his work anymore," she whined. Kaito sighed. "Is there something you wanted, Mom?" he asked, standing up to face her. Dropping her fake crying act, Kushina smiled. "Oh right. An ANBU came by. Tsunade wants to see you in her office." Kaito groaned softly. She probably wants to send me on another mission," he muttered, grabbing his things as he walked out. Kushina laughed as she reached out, ruffling his hair playfully. "Oh, don't be so grumpy, Kaikuin. How are you going to be Hokage if you complain about going on missions?" Kaito grumbled. "I never said I wanted to be Hokage," he muttered. He sighed, pulling away from her grip. As he did, he paused, sniffing the air. "What's that smell?" Kushina's giggles stopped abruptly, and her face paled. "Oh no. My curry," she exclaimed, dashing toward the kitchen. Kaito followed behind her. He found his mom frantically trying to salvage the curry, but the smell of burnt food was unmistakable. With a defeated sigh, Kushina opened the window, then slumped to the ground. "My curry," she muttered, pouting. Kaito shook his head. "I'm heading out, Mom. Want me to grab something on the way back?" Kushina looked up at him, her pout quickly replaced by determination. "It's all right, Kaikuin. I'll just make it again, you know," she said, standing up with renewed energy. Kaito nodded. "All right, then. I'll be back later." With that, he turned and left the house. Once outside, he leapt onto a tree branch and began making his way toward the heart of the village. As he ran, Kaito's thoughts drifted back to the past few days. Flashback, Mount Mayaboku and Sage Mode. Kaito sat shirtless in the backyard of the Uzumaki residence, next to the pond. Lady Kotsuyu rested on his shoulder, guiding him. Faded black markings began to appear on Kaito's face, while patches of slime formed on his body. His expression was strained as he struggled to maintain balance. "Very good, Kaikuin," Kotsuyu said softly. "Maintain the balance. Keep calm." Kaito took a deep breath, his face gradually relaxing. The markings around his eyes darkened and solidified, while the slime on his skin receded. After a few more moments, he opened his eyes and stood up. "Congratulations, Kaikuin," Kotsuyu said with pride. "You've finally managed to enter Sage Mode." Kaito looked at his reflection in the pond. He flexed his hands. This is incredible. I feel stronger. My senses." He trailed off, looking toward the village gates. "I can sense everyone in the village." His sensory range, which was already $25 kilometers with his Kagura mind's eye, now spanned well over $100 kilometers. Katsuyu's calm voice broke his thoughts. "Hi, that is one of the benefits of Sage Mode, heightened senses and enhanced strength." Kaito nodded but frowned slightly, looking at the small patches of slime still clinging to his skin. "But it's not perfect yet," he said. "I still haven't completely stabilized it." "You've made great progress, Kaikuin," Kotsuyu assured him. "You've balanced nature energy and your chakra. Now it's just a matter of fine-tuning it." Kaito held out his right hand, forming a spinning blue sphere, the Rasengan. As he observed it, his eyes widened slightly. "It's denser than my regular Rasengan," he said. "It feels as strong, if not stronger, than my nature transformation Rasengans." Satisfied, Kaito let the Rasengan dissipate. He then used pure body movement to test his speed. "That was at least 3 times my previous speed. And my reflexes, they've heightened to the point where it's easy to adjust to the boost." Just then, he felt a subtle tug on his chakra, the Hiratian marker he had given to Lord Fukusoku. Kaito glanced at Kotsuyu. "Lady Kotsuyu, I have to leave. He's summoning me to Mount Mayaboku. Would you like to come along?" Kotsuyu tilted her head slightly. "To Mount Mayaboku? Sure, Kaikuin. I'll come along." Kaito created a shadow clone, which immediately released its gathered nature energy, reverting to its base form. Kaito quickly put on his shirt and activated the Hiratian seal. In an instant, he and Lady Kotsuyu teleported to Mount Mayaboku, arriving in a small house. The moment they arrived, Kaito's body convulsed as he lost control of the abundant nature chakra surrounding him. He fell to one knee, parts of his body becoming slimy and partially liquefied. Kotsuyu reacted immediately, siphoning off the excess nature chakra. "Are you all right, Kaikuin?" Kaito nodded, his breathing labored. "Yeah, I'm fine. I was just overwhelmed." I didn't expect there to be this much nature energy in one place, you know. From across the room, Fukasaku observed. So, you were using senjutsu? He asked. Kaito nodded. Yeah, I just managed to enter sage mode a few minutes ago. But I guess I'm not fully attuned to nature energy yet. Kotsuyu slithered slightly forward. I apologize for intruding, Lord Fukasaku, she said politely. Fukasaku chuckled warmly. Ah, Kotsuyu girl, it's good to see you. And no apologies needed, you're always welcome at Mount Mayaboku. Before Kaito could respond, Shima walked in. Ah, there you are, lad. I just finished cooking. Come eat. Kaito froze, his face paling at the offer. Thank you, Lady Shima, but I'll have to politely decline your offer. You see, I don't eat bugs and, well, eating them would be disrespectful to Lady Kotsuyu here. Ma, noticing Kotsuyu for the first time, smiled warmly. Ah, Kotsuyu. It's good to see you again. A shame though, I made more than usual when Pa said you were coming. Kaito, eager to escape, turned to Fukasaku. Fukasaku-sama, why did you call for me? Has the great elder agreed to meet with me? Fukasaku nodded. Yes. We spoke to him, and he said he had been expecting you. Kaito tilted his head, confused. Expecting me? What does that mean? Fukasaku shrugged. That's all he said before going back to sleep. Come on, lad. I'll take you to him. They made their way to a temple-like structure. Inside, a massive old toad sat in a large tub of water, his eyes closed. Kaito stared in awe. Gamamaru, the great toad sage. Fukasaku hopped off Kaito's shoulder. Grand Elder. Wake up. I've brought Kaito Uzumaki as you asked. Gamamaru stirred slightly. What? He murmured groggily. Pa sighed. I've brought Kaito Uzumaki, as you requested, Gamamaru-sama. Kotsuyu of Shikotsu Forest is also here. Kaito bowed deeply. It's an honor to meet you, Great Elder. The Elder Toad looked at Kaito. Ah yes, Uzumaki Kaito. Oh, of course. Kotsuyu, it's always a pleasure having you here, he said, then fell silent again. Fukasaku spoke once more. Grand Elder, you called them here, remember? You said you had been expecting the lad. Yes I did. What was it? Is it that, Finally, he continued, ah yes, I have had a dream about you. You who will guide the future. I have seen you fighting foes stronger than you, ones that will threaten the world, many of them with ocular powers. Pa, looking shocked, stepped forward. Great Elder, are you saying that Kaito is the child of prophecy that Jiraiya has been looking for? The one who would bring an era of change? Gamamaru hummed thoughtfully. No, but he will be the one to guide him and play a big role. Fukasaku nodded. I see. Then, Great Elder, what about the seal that Kaito asked about? Is there something like the seal he described? Gamamaru nodded again. Yes, there is such a seal. I used it a long time ago. It should be in the archives if I remember correctly. With that, he went back to sleep. Fukasaku sighed. Well lad, let's go to the archives. Return to Konoha. Kaito snapped out of his thoughts as he landed next to the window of the Hokage's office. He knocked on the window and opened it. You called for me, Lady Tsunade? Inside the office, Tsunade sat behind her desk, looking annoyed. Can't you use the door like a normal person? Kaito shrugged. Well, it's too much hassle. And who said I'm a normal person? He glanced at the other occupants of the room. Kaito stepped into the office through the window and froze for a moment. Leaning casually against the wall near the window was Kakashi, dressed in his usual jonin attire. His signature orange Aika book was open in one hand, his eyes lazily scanning the pages. Looking up, Kakashi gave a small wave and said, Yo, his visible eye creasing into a friendly smile. Kaito nodded back and smiled. Been a while, Kakashi. His gaze briefly lingered on the jonin outfit. So Tsunade took him out of the umbu like I asked her to. Good. Kaito turned his attention to the other person in the room. a tall man standing with his arms crossed and a grin plastered across his face. It was Jiraiya, casually positioned near Tsunade's desk. "Hey there, kid." Jiraiya greeted with a cheerful wave. "I heard you met the great elder Toad Sage." Ignoring Jiraiya's enthusiasm, Kaito shifted his focus to Tsunade, who was sitting at her desk buried in paperwork. His tone carried a trace of annoyance as he asked, "What's he doing here?" Jiraiya's grin faltered, and he face-planted onto the floor with a loud thud. Getting up with a defeated sigh, he exclaimed, "Oh, come on, kid. I already said I was sorry. Cut me some slack." Kakashi raised an eyebrow at their interaction but remained silent, turning a page in his book. Tsunade, now looking up from her work, gave Kaito a curious look. "You met with the Grand Elder of Mount Mayaboku?" Kaito shrugged nonchalantly. "I needed their help on a seal I'm working on. Speaking of which." Reaching into his pouch, he pulled out a scroll and handed it to her. "Here." Tsunade took the scroll. "What's this?" Pointing to the scroll, Kaito explained, "It's got 10 copies of a variation of the seal I'm working on. It mimics my healing bite ability, not as powerful though. It can heal minor wounds if my calculations are right. Haven't tested it on a person yet, but I thought it might be useful for missions. If it's mass-produced, it could reduce casualties." Tsunade's curiosity deepened as she examined the intricate designs. "It mimics your healing bite, huh? That could be really useful. Does it only work with your chakra?" Kaito shook his head. "No, anyone can charge it up. It's reusable too, you just have to recharge the seal after each use. You place it on the person, activate it, and it works. From my tests on a fish, it heals wounds, but I haven't tried it on anything fatal. Like I said, it's not as strong as my ability, it's more of a watered-down version. Figured you'd want to test it out." Tsunade nodded thoughtfully. Even a watered-down version could save lives on missions. Jiraiya spoke up. "Hey, is this the same seal you showed Pa and Ma?" Kaito crossed his arms, ignoring Jiraiya entirely. He looked at Tsunade. "So, why did you call me?" "I was busy working on something important," he said. Without looking up, Tsunade replied, "We're waiting on your other teammate so I can debrief you." Kaito sighed, guessing where this was heading. Another mission. Jiraiya let out a long sigh. "Look, kid, I know I haven't been there for you, Kushina, or Naruto. But there's a reason. I've been tracking Orochimaru, and while doing so, I've come across rumors about a group." Kaito cut him off sharply. "They're called the Akatsuki. Orochimaru was one of them, and they're after the tailed beasts. Is that all?" The nonchalant way Kaito talked about such dangerous information caught everyone's attention. Kakashi's visible eye turned serious. With a snap, he shut his book. "And, the masked man?" he asked, his voice low. Kaito gave a small nod. "Yeah." Jiraiya's jaw dropped. "What? How do you? What?" Tsunade let out a tired sigh. "We already know about the Akatsuki, Jiraiya. In fact, we've known for a while now. And yes, we also know Orochimaru was one of them. This is old news." She smirked slightly. "Did you think you were the only one with spies?" Jiraiya gaped at her, stunned into silence. Before the awkward silence could stretch, a knock came at the door. Tsunade straightened. "Come in," she called. The door opened, and a young kunoichi with dark hair stepped inside. "Good afternoon, Lady Tsunade," Hataru said with a polite bow. Her gaze flicked to Kaito, and she nodded. Tsunade placed the scroll aside. "Right. Now that you're all here," she began, "the 3 of you will be forming a 3-man cell." She gestured toward Kakashi. "I've pulled Kakashi out of the Umbu to lead this team. You'll be reporting directly to me." Tsunade's gaze sharpened as she focused on Kaito, Hataru, and then Kakashi. "I'll be placing you as team captain, Kakashi. Any objections?" Kaito shrugged. "Yeah, I don't mind." Hataru smiled politely. "No objections from me, Lady Tsunade." Tsunade nodded. "Good. Now that's out of the way." She grabbed a scroll and tossed it toward Kakashi. I have a mission for the three of you. Kakashi's brow furrowed as his eye scanned the contents. Kiri? He asked, glancing at Tsunade. Tsunade leaned back in her chair, her expression serious. Kiri's been quiet for the past few months. Before that, they were harassing our borders, but now? Nothing. It's too quiet. I want you three to head there and investigate what's going on. Kaito's mind was already racing. Has the bloodline purge in Kiri already started? Jiraiya burst out, Tsunade, you can't be serious. You're sending kids into Kiri? I get it if you're sending Kakashi, but the other two are barely 12. Kaito rolled his eyes and smirked. One of those kids almost killed you. If you hadn't gone running back to your adoptive parent for help, it might have been a different story. Jiraiya turned toward Kaito. Kid, if I'd been serious, you wouldn't have even injured me. And let me tell you, you wouldn't stand a chance if I went into Sage mode. Tsunade groaned. Enough, Jiraiya. These two are the best we've got. Kakashi is an experienced Umbu operative. They'll learn from him. Besides, she added with a smirk, Kaito knows the Hiraition. If things get too intense, they can just teleport out. Jiraiya opened his mouth to argue but froze when he noticed Kaito's eyes were closed. A minute later he opened his eyes, and the air shifted. Black sage markings now decorated Kaito's face, and a faint, slimy substance was seeping from his skin. He looked directly at Jiraiya and said in a calm but pointed tone, You're not the only one who can use senjutsu. Tsunade stared at him, visibly stunned. How the hell? She muttered under her breath. Hotaru was in complete awe. Kakashi's gaze lingered on Kaito. But then he murmured softly, almost to himself, Sensei. That's Sage mode, Jiraiya muttered, his face a mix of shock, irritation, and reluctant admiration. He crossed his arms and gave Kaito a grumpy look. You learned senjutsu from Katsuyu, didn't you? Kaito released the nature energy, the markings fading. He shrugged, completely ignoring Jiraiya's question. Instead, he turned to Tsunade. So, about the mission. When do we leave? Tsunade cleared her throat, regaining her composure. Right, she said. Kakashi's your captain, so I'll let him handle the details. But I suggest you leave first thing tomorrow morning. Use today to prepare, gather what you need and remember, stay discreet once you cross the sea. Kakashi nodded. Hi, he said simply. We'll take our leave, Lady Tsunade. Hotaru bowed as well. Hi, Lady Tsunade. Kaito followed them out. So, he said casually as they walked, meet at the main gate at 8? Kakashi nodded. Yeah, sure. I'll see you both there. He was about to leave when Kaito grabbed his arm. Hold up, Kakashi, Kaito said. Mom's been looking for you. She said she wanted to see you and asked me to bring you home if I ran into you. Kakashi sighed heavily. Can it wait? He asked. Kaito smirked. I could always bring her to you, you know. Kakashi groaned and gave a small nod. Fine. I'll join you for dinner tonight, he muttered before body flickering away. Kaito turned to Hotaru. So, he said, want to grab something to eat? Hotaru nodded with a smile. Sure. The two stopped by a dango stand, buying a few skewers before strolling down the busy streets of Konoha. After a moment, Hotaru glanced at Kaito hesitantly. I don't mean to pry, but what was that back there with Jiraiya-sama? You seemed really angry at him, Kaikuan. Kaito shrugged. Oh, that? It's nothing. I just caught him spying on you guys the other day. Hotaru blinked in surprise. Spying? Yeah, Kaito said, taking a bite of his dango. And then there's the other thing. He's supposed to be Naruto's godfather, but he hasn't visited Naruto. Not even once. If Mom and I weren't around, I can't shake the feeling Naruto would have been abandoned by him. And worse, the third might have brainwashed him into being Konoha's weapon. You know what I mean. Hotaru's expression softened. Oh, she said quietly. She didn't know what to say, so she simply walked beside him in silence. The two continued their way back to the Hyuga compound. And that wraps up today's episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother. Kaito's journey is only getting more intense, and the future of the ninja world is changing with every step he takes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see what happens next, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with other Naruto fans, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Drop your theories in the comments. I love reading them. See you in the next episode.